Oh, hey, what's up? Joe from Segments here. Welcome to the third episode of Ecom Data Cooler Talk, where we talk about important topics in e-commerce data next to my water cooler. Okay, so today's topic is KPI metrics. And you may have heard terms like AOV, average order value, thrown around a lot, and some other terms like CLV that you may not be as familiar with. And today I want to tell you a little bit about what they are and why it matters. And before we begin, last week I saw a post on LinkedIn shared by Gymshark CEO Ben Francis that read, "Obsessed with data science right now." And my comment back to him was like, well, how can we get more e-commerce merchants obsessed with data science since it's such an important topic? And so are you obsessed with data science yet? If not, comment below why and why not, let us know. So let's dive in. So what is a KPI? Well, before we can talk about KPIs, we have to first talk about a metric. And a metric is just a unit of measurement, like a centimeter is a measurement of lengths. KPI, which stands for Key Performance Indicators, is just a set of metrics that measures the business performance against its goals and its overall health. So why is that important? Well, as the father of modern management once said, Peter Drucker, you can't improve what you don't measure, right? And so it's important for companies and businesses to agree on a set of metrics to measure its business performance. And just like athletes are trying to shave seconds off their best time, e-commerce merchants are trying to increase conversions to their store. And it's also very important to not focus on the wrong metrics, the vanity metrics, things that look good but are meaningless in the process. For example, if you're trying to lose weight, a lot of people tend to focus on losing pounds, but it doesn't actually tell you much about your overall health, right? And in this case, maybe a BMI or body mass index may be a better substitute. And the same thing applies to e-commerce stores, right? While it's important to look at top line revenue dollars, it's just as important to look at your bottom line margins or profit, as a company cannot stay in the negative territory forever and stay open, right? So next up, we'll take a closer look at some of the familiar metrics like AOV, CLV, and some of the other ones that you may not have heard of, such as acquisition to churn rate, average days between purchase. So why does it matter? Well, without KPIs, a business can't really know how well it's doing or how terrible it's doing. It needs to find areas to improve, and you need accountability into your operations so you can actually know what to focus on. Without it, it's kind of like flying blind or setting sail without a compass, and you're really just hoping not to crash. There may be a time in the past where just good work ethic, we'll figure it out, attitude can get you somewhere. But those days are long gone, right? In this hyper-competitive internet marketplace that we have today, there's low barriers to entry, and if something is worth doing, someone is probably doing it somewhere already. And every one of us is facing competition, and only by constantly measuring and improving upon your business operations and metrics can you increase your chances of coming out on top. And so it's not just about tracking everything and measuring everything. It's really about measuring the right business metrics and those ones that you should focus on and know how to move them. And so you have not started today, I really suggest you to start looking into it. Either do it yourself by learning to use tools like Google Analytics online, or find apps like Segments that can always give you last 30 days of KPIs for free, or find partners to help set it up for you. So what can KPIs do for me? Well, there are a lot of KPIs. I'll just try to summarize and include the most important ones related to your orders here. And so first up, we have AOV, ARPU, and ARPU, which stands for average order value, average orders per user, and average revenue per user. And so this tells you how much on average each customer is spending on each order and how much revenue they're bringing in. And the higher, the better, right? And it kind of speaks to the foundational performance of your store at the unit economics level, and to tell you how profitable you are per order and per user. And so it's very important to pay attention to how these metrics are calculated. For example, you don't want to include shipping and taxes or invalid orders into these calculations, because shipping and taxes, first of all, they go into someone else's pocket, and so when you include that into your calculations, it might skew the results higher, and that can really affect your results. So next up, we have repurchase rate, which we define as the number of repeat customers divided by overall customers in the same period. And this tells you how well you're doing and how much business you're doing from your repeat customers. And this is important because you've already spent all that money up front to acquire a user, and so the more purchases you can induce from the same customer, usually the better off you will be. There are some exceptions to the case with product categories such as baby and durable goods, where the repurchase cycle is much longer. But in general, the more repurchase behavior, the better. And last but not least, we have 3 metrics that you may be less familiar with, and those are CLV, ADP, and ACR. And so CLV stands for customer lifetime value. And as the name suggests, it tries to measure the potential spend over a customer's lifetime with your store. And so this is important because in break-even analysis, you want to make sure that you are accounting for the overall profitability or revenue from a user potentially against your other expenses such as like marketing expenses and overhead. Next up is ADP, average days between purchases, right? And so every customer will shop slightly differently, and your store will be different from the other person's store. And so if you're still using sort of static business rule timing on every single purchase, you really should be looking at studying the purchase cycle between each purchases for your own customers for your store, right? And that can tell you when to expect sort of the next order and how much risk there is if they kind of lapse that period. And so the last one is ACR, or acquisition to churn rate. And this is sometimes known as the leaky bucket rate. And so what this is trying to tell you is your new customers relative to your churning customers, right? And so this, if you have a ratio greater than 1, that means you're acquiring users faster than you're losing users. And that's usually better. And so if you have a ratio that is less than 1, that means you're losing users faster than you acquire new users. And then you may want to look at retention because that's a potential problem area for you. Okay, today we talked about the importance of tracking and reviewing your KPIs for business performance. Remember to always ask your analytics provider how they're calculating the metrics and make sure that it's accurate. You can't improve what you don't measure, so always be measuring. And in this hyper-competitive marketplace we have today, the best way to win is through understanding your customers, and the best way to understand your customers is through data. So if you need more detailed definitions about any of the metrics we covered today, follow this link below and we have it all listed. Finally, data is power, and we want to give e-commerce data powers back to the people. So join us and start growing today.